As we're live, I will wait to confirm in Twitch. Waiting, 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 and we're live. Great. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back, Skeksis Suckers, to another episode of Emrae, a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition campaign in a world of my own design. With us, as always, are our good friend Leganor, aka Jeff, our human bard with a little sprinkling of fighter mixed in, Jindorum Jin Draprax, aka Zach, our dragonborn sorcerer, Wallace the Wall Stoneguard, aka Mike, aka Big Hand, aka the Millennium Falcon, aka the old man with the beard sometimes, aka my friend and yours, Miguel de Squirrel, our human our human tanky fighter boy. And you'll notice a mysterious mystery boy in the form of our good buddy Steve. We'll learn more about why he's here in a moment. When we last left our party, he's just it's like when the principal comes to class. I'm just gonna sit and observe.
Everybody's just like, yeah, we're totally acting normal.
What do hands do again? Um, when we last left our friends, our party had wandered through the jungle in the valley in the mysterious land. They know not whence they arrived to. I don't think that grammar is correct, but you know what I'm saying. Um, While trudging through the jungle, they encountered an elf in distress. They saved his life. He was introduced as an elf named Onubin, and they followed him in a very eccentric manner to his tribal home in the center of the valley. So they have now encountered the Umbaqua, an elven tribe living in a giant jungle tree, which juts out 2 to 3 times taller than anything around the jungle. They spent a little bit of time getting to know some of the townsfolk, namely the innkeeper and a healer. And I believe when we ended, they were about to bed down for the evening in some rooms that were provided to them, as the tribe looks pretty favorable on them since they saved Anubin's life, with some intentions to do something in the morning, and we will find out as the day opens. The sun peeks over the edge of the valley as beams of light stream through the inn that y'all find yourselves in. And actually, Mike, you should be in here. You find yourselves sitting on some comfortable cloth woven hammocks in an innkeep room, nestled comfortably within the canopy of the giant tree next to what is called the inn. And our session opens.
Are we in the theater of the mind, or should we be looking at a map?
There is a map. Steve, just to confirm, you see your token have vision and control of it on this map?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
See, I'm still looking at the Emrae title screen.
Same here.
Mm-hmm.
You are?
Yes.
Yes.
You shouldn't be. The players are on this other map.
Good old Roll20.
Can y'all refresh? We were on the title screen, and I just dragged all the players to this other map.
Apparently, you only dragged. Your connection to the server has been interrupted. Oh, that's good.
No, I dragged the whole player's ribbon, and I haven't separated the party.
I'm refreshing the page, and it's taking a
Oh, yep. Same here.
Getting a Roll20 error.
Yep, I'm getting a little spinny circle.
Phenomenal.
I'm doing great. I'm vibing. Zero problems on this end.
Weird. Pages unresponsive.
Oh, yeah, pages unresponsive.
Super fun.
Alright, I'll exit pages, I suppose.
Alright, well, I mean, we can kind of theater the mind it for now, and whenever you guys get your game back in, just let me know, and we'll switch to the map. I'm glad I didn't spend making... Okay, I see people leaving and joining the game now.
Okay, I can see my token.
It's taking a minute, but it's coming up now. There we go.
Alright, cool. So the three of you...
Well in the land of Emrae.
Three of you should find yourselves in a small treetop room. There's some windows. You can see out into the canopy.
What do you say here, fellas? What have we gotten ourselves into now?
Whoa.
what I've gotten myself into is the most comfortable hammock I've been in weeks. I'm not going anywhere for a minute. This is too nice. And I just continue to rock in my hammock.
We're waking up rather than going to bed.
Yeah, you're starting the day.
Starting the day.
Starting the day.
Bros, I'm pretty comfortable here. Even though my legs are a little too long, my legs are kind of hanging off the sides.
I'm imagining your scales and things just like accidentally poking and ripping at the hammock.
Ripping holes in it, yeah.
I mean,
Torn to
it's
shreds.
it's it's pretty well made fabric. It's like
It still holds me up.
It's akin to like a canvas. It's not threadbare.
As I roll around, I realize like,
I do have pointy bits.
I gotta find the chamber pot. Oh, do they have chamber pots around here? What? And I slowly move out like.
Mike's really missing the plumbing.
Yeah.
Enjoy the plumbing.
You guys got plumbing in this tree? Is that a thing?
I don't know, there's a window.
Well, you just answered your own question. I mean, we're in a tree, so there's only one way for it to go.
That's true.
Into the tree? I don't. What? I'm confused.
So I assume.
Shoot out the window.
I'll look out the window to see if there's anything actually below.
You've seen the map from yesterday or last session rather, so you can see through the canopy, and you see basically the area surrounding the tree. The pool, that little like rock pond, is north of you, which you can see from here. And actually, from up in the tree, you get a pretty good vantage of the surrounding area of the valley. So actually, as a result of that, as Mike is looking out the window, I'm just gonna bring the players to a different map for a moment. Do you guys see? Is it daylight? You have vision?
Yes, I can see the whole map.
So you guys are basically here, and you kind of get a sense of the general valley within. So, like the waterfall was up in the upper left, and you made your way to this village, and you can kind of see the surrounding area.
So, Jim, it looks like some of these tiles might be slightly mismatched or off kilter.
All these maps were made individually. So the fact that any of them line up at all is a miracle.
Well, I mean, yes, I just didn't know.
Yeah, no, I'm aware. These are the 25 individual maps that I made in Incarnate, and then I stitched them together for a single image.
Is this like a plateau that I'm looking at?
Yeah, so all of this stuff is like rocky, mountainy cliff formations at like sort of the edge of the valley as the mountain area goes up. So yeah, some of it's up, some of it's I think down. If you zoom in, you can kind of tell what goes up and what goes down elevation wise.
Is there any other activity people knowing about?
Well, I mean, in terms of people, you can really only see the surrounding village area. But from up in the canopy, because remember the dense jungle, you're above the tree line, so you're just kind of seeing landscape more than anything from this vantage. But you do get a good sense of the surrounding area. With that, that's about all you can see because you're in a tree. So we're gonna bring you back, but that gives you you have that mental image.
I'm gonna see. Is there a chamber pot in the space?
Yeah, every in room. That's what this is. This is like a wash basin / chamber pot.
Okay, all right, I'll use that then. I'm not gonna try to make this a whole thing.
Appreciate
it. What does I have with that?
I know it's the one detail you concerned more than anything in D&D is how do they go to the bathroom.
What do you say, boys? We head on back down and see what we can learn?
I'm kind of curious.
Back in the city again, even if it's nothing like anywhere I've ever been.
You call this a city, Dingus?
Compared to what we've been in the last month, yeah, this is a metropolis.
I'll figure out where or when we are.
I might have a reason to use this, and I pull out the jazz flute, do like a little.
Yeah, I'd be curious. I mean, there's all kinds of things about these people we don't know anything about their music, the culture, the magics, the what have you. So just kind of this will be an interesting experience. I wonder if they got. And I'm also curious if they know anything about Eurolabin. types. I'm just glad they're not hostile. And I will attempt to open the door.
The door opens easily.
Hey, they're not hostile, but we haven't done anything to piss them off yet.
So as you exit the inn, you see the wooden flooring that encircles like a large tree trunk in the center that continues up above you. Um,
Right.
and you can see the bridges that connect things. These are all other rooms in the inn.
Gotcha. How did we get here? Across
There's
the bridges.
yeah, there's bridges here. As you
Oh.
come around, you see an elf named that you recognize as Aobin, the innkeep.
Hey, buddy, are we gonna get some breakfast around here?
Ah, you're awake. This is wonderful. The village has been just abuzz this morning with talk of the strangers. There are many who would love to meet you.
Is that so?
Out of curiosity, Jim, what's I mean, Jeff described this as a metropolis.
It's
Like,
not a
what's-
metropolis.
I was gonna say, what's the population that we're talking?
I
here,
mean,
roughly.
dozens.
Okay,
Yeah,
small town or like.
it's a village.
Got it. Okay,
Mike, I'm clinging the threads.
that's fair. I just want to make
It's
sure that we have the same mental image in my head, and I'm not imagining like this is a full-on like Ewok.
the
Metropolis.
map at your disposal is the entirety of the village that's in
So
the
it's not
canopy.
Ewok, it's
Oh, the
more
map
like,
that we're in right now. Got it. Okay.
it's more like the Kokiri
Ah.
village, that kind of scale.
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate that as
Yeah.
a reference point.
So he said, "Oh yes, there's many who'd love to meet you. I know Chief Furrier alone is excited to meet you as well."
All right, because we
Why
didn't
might
actually
that
meet
be?
the chief yet. Okay.
Are elves usually that curious of strangers passing through their lands?
Um, well, we have had our share of strangers over the years, many of whom, like yourselves, speak like yourselves and myself, speak the common tongue. Damn it, I forgot nobody speaks common. I've already ruined it. So
Oh,
all right. He's just having this conversation with you, Wallace.
This is all in, that's right, because I'm the only one that can
Yeah.
speak Elvish.
But
Hmm.
but anyway, he says to you, Wallace, that while we've had our fair share of strangers and travelers, no one dressed quite like you. You're not like any of the Eastermen we've ever come across, even though they themselves are few and far between. So, folks have a lot of questions.
Yeah, our clothes are a little odd even for us. What kind of? I'd be curious. What are the Eastermen you've seen and how they got about getting here?
while this is
Sure.
happening between the two of them, I just turn to Jin and say, "Should we play rock paper scissors and just start playing rock paper scissors, stuff to pass the time?"
I mean, I'll try to. I mean, I've basically resolved this to the fact that I'm playing translator, and then when I can, in like spare moments, I'll like do the whole message to you all, like pointing, like this is what he said. Semantic pointing. They're just gonna think it's a mannerism of mine after a little while. Like he just points after he talks.
And I just look at the guy and kind of like mime eating food.
Oh, my companion, my friends would like to know if there's is there a custom where you all sit down for breakfast somewhere?
Morning meals typically prepared in the tavern. You can find it across the bridge and branches to the south. You're
Thank
welcome.
you
You're welcome
kindly,
to
Aoben.
yeah. You're welcome to whatever you find there.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course.
Hi, boys. Food's to the south, and apparently we're going to be the center of attention for a while.
Fine, I'll answer questions as long as feed me some breakfast.
Hey, look, tables. And I'll point across the way.
Yeah.
They
So
must
the
be very. I do. Like, at this point, though, like, are there railings, or is it just, like, branches we're walking across?
so it there you have a big thick round branch and it's carved out in like a U. So the branch itself gives you some sort of sides.
Okay.
It's
So I
not
don't
just
need to be,
flat. No, you're
sorry.
good.
Okay.
Everything's very sturdy and established and civil. It's not like
Let's just say that we're gonna, be successful in navigating these branches.
I cannot imagine what my New York style accent sounds like in Elvish. Like, it'd be like somebody from New York trying to speak French. Just like what? I could not imagine how that would work. Yeah, but je ne sais quoi, whatever.
Ah,
Morning.
good morning. You must
Sorry, we
be the
haven't.
strangers everyone has been talking about. Welcome.
I'll
Chief
walk up and
Chief Furrier has told us to allow you to have your fill of whatever you wish. Our food is yours as long as you're here. We thank you for bringing our brother home safely.
you're quite welcome. My name's Wallace. This is
Wallace.
Sparkles and Fingers. I mean,
He points to you, Jin, and says, "Sparkles." And he points to you like an go, Leganor.
When he says sparkles, I just do a little prestidigitation, like fireworks show in my palm, like
Ha ha
sparkles.
ha. Ha ha
And
ha.
as soon as he says my name, I'm gonna cast message and just clearly enunciate Leganor, Leganor, Leganor,
Leganor. Leganor.
Leganor,
Leganor.
and then while smiling all acrobatically, I'll pirouette and grab an empty plate and hold it out.
but we didn't get your names, man,
Ah,
person.
I am Lauseb.
Lao.
I am tasked with running the tavern here, if you wish to call it that. I believe that's the I believe that's the Easterman word for our communal meal space.
Do I hear the word tavern?
I mean,
No,
it's
this
all in
is all in
Elven, so
Elvish.
no. I mean, I suppose I could teach you all like please and thank you and food. Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks. No, tavern's the right word for the folk. Well, yeah, we'll take
When I when I hear
I don't know what kind of.
tavern, I perk up even more. Like hold up the plate in one hand, the flute in the other. Like
So yeah, well, what's the what do you have for breakfast?
So they have
Meals.
kind of exactly what you'd expect them to have. A lot of vegetarian dishes. There is some sort of game bird that has been prepared for meat-like protein, but it's mostly fruits and nuts and some sort of baked oat cakes. If you've ever read the Redwall series, think of like what they would eat in their like abbey feasts. It's a lot of that kind of food.
Way too long since I read that, but I did read those when I was like 12. Yeah, to go.
Yeah.
I will do my best to try to like guess at what I think they would both eat with like meat, like pointing things like bird, plate, like fruit, vegetables, like mostly keeping note. I don't know. I'll probably keep. Knuckles, do you eat a lot of vegetables?
Hey, whatever. You got some
All right,
meat? I'll take some meat.
I'll just give them both I'll just give all three of us like smatterings or whatever, and then water,
Great.
and then sit our butts down.
Excellent.
Are there anybody else? Is there anybody else in the tavern?
At the moment, no, but just a couple minutes after you're seated, um, two elves you can see approaching over this bridge. I don't know if you can see them on the map. Probably not because of dynamic lighting.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So they would appear basically around the corner here.
So that's Aoben and assuming it's the same
No,
token.
it's not. That one's not Aoben. It is the same
Okay.
token. But these are. Um, you do recognize Furion, the healer. That's the one on the top, and you don't
Okay.
recognize the one below her.
I'll call out in my most formal possible Elven greeting. Morning, take use Furion and have a friend we haven't met yet.
Ah, good morning. They said you were awake. How are you enjoying the food? says Furian.
How am I enjoying the food? Good question. I'm assuming it's very well prepared and well served, and the bird is prepared well.
Yeah, it's good.
I'll go.
You're
It's
you're
probably the nicest meal we've had in weeks, so it's good. Thanks. You two enjoying your food?
Oh, my stomach.
My face is stuffed too much, but I still put up a big.
You grin.
Yeah, no, we're good. No, Leo Seb is treating us well. I don't know if thumbs up or thumbs up a thing else too. I don't yeah,
Oh no, that's
sure.
very offensive. I wouldn't do that.
Just get angry looks at everybody when I'm like, sorry, let me go with the finger guns. Is that more appropriate?
When I put up a thumbs up and I don't see any reaction, I double down. I put 2 thumbs up.
They're being super polite, and they're just when they don't understand, they just kind of smile and nod.
Yay. Cultural boundaries.
Um, then the other elf who you had not recognized approaches you, Wallace, and says, Nubin mentioned one of you was curious about our magic.
Ah, that would be him, pointing at Sparkles.
Ah,
I kind of look like what? What?
He's
What?
apparently the. Are you the one they know, Dalgar? Is that
yes, I am.
Sparkles?
You
This is the magic user one. His name's Dalgar.
great, and
Doggles,
I kind of
Doggles, Doggles.
Sparkles.
I go up to him and I kind of shake his hand like,
I,
hey, how you doing?
um,
How you doing?
oh,
Magic,
okay.
and I kind of like do another little prestidigitation show, just poof,
Oh,
poof, poof, poof.
he gets kind of a
You? Magic?
he gets a confused look on his face, and then also prestidigitates, and
Hey!
he claps.
I, I throw my arm around him. Oh, we're gonna be friends.
And he says to you, Wallace, um, this one seems to already know our magic.
Well, he's curious if there's any magics that we've never been exposed to as Eastermen. I don't know if you've ever had other Eastermen that have come by that have never demonstrated certain magics that maybe you have access to. I'm not sure.
Interesting story. There is one of us who actually originally hails from the east, and much of what
Oh,
we know beyond the natural magics that we wield comes from her influence and tutelage.
um, who is this person you're referring to?
Ah, she has a name which was not given to the DM yet. And he gives you a name which I will get momentarily.
Got it. Wallace has a name. Mike doesn't. Got it. Um, so I will, and I like parrot this in message to my
So as
compatriots.
as Dalgar is mentioning this, you hear a thud, and this elf sprawls out on the floor from around the corner, having tripped, seemingly.
Do we recognize this elf?
You do not. Uh,
Does he look? I don't know. Does he look younger, older?
well, he's an elf, so they all look young-ish compared to their actual ages. You know, you're not,
Fair.
and you guys being Eastermen aren't really familiar with pure elves anyway.
That's fair. Fair point. Okay. You all right there, little guy? Sir, son, sir, person?
Are you saying this is an elf or common?
Elvin, to the person that just fell over.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so you see just like a definitely looks like 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 a teenager, like maybe like mid to late teens, like kind of like gets up, just kind of like regular village attire, red hair, and just kind of like looks up and says, "Ah, yeah, sorry about that, sirs. Um, I was just like kind of like looks around a little nervous."
You curious, kiddo?
Yeah, that's it. I just wanted to see, everyone's talking about these cool adventurers. I wanted to see what was up.
Well, hi, and I'll introduce. Uh, my name is Wallace. This here is Legano, aka Fingers. This here is Jin J. Prax, aka Sparkles. Don't mind them, they're stuffing their faces with foods. Um, they also don't speak Elvish, so
Yeah, I hear they prepare the bird very well here.
they do. Are you not from the town?
Oh, I don't eat here usually.
Oh,
I just I just eat berries, and
all right.
I'll cast good berry, which
Nice.
is so I just like I open my palm and there's like a little bit of a green flash, and like like a bunch of like decent sized looking berries pop into my hands, and I say, "You just eat the one of these and it feeds you for an entire day." Can you believe it?
That's yeah. What is it about this? I switched to comment. What is it with every single place we go? There's somebody that knows how to like magic foods. Like, how is it
Your
always
friends know how to
everybody?
magic food, remember?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
you two
Oh
always
yeah.
know how to magic food. Sturgis always knew how to like just pull food out of everywhere. Like, everybody knows how to magic food. It's like, why did we even come up with farming? Why is it a thing? I digress.
I look over and I see him like poof some berries into his hand. I look over. Can I have one of those? Like, I kind of like mime that I. What,
Um,
Fred
you,
here would like one of your good berries if you wouldn't mind sharing.
yeah. Quick question for the DM because I think this is an interpretation thing.
Okay.
If I cast message, can he understand me if he can't understand my language? Like, is it a telepathic thing?
So it would, I guess
hmm.
it would depend on how you're sending the message. If you're sending it in Elvish, he would receive the auditory hallucination of Elvish in his head.
Okay, I wasn't sure if like I was trying to use message as auto like Google Translate,
Fair.
but
As a babblefish.
yeah. Um, but yeah, like I'll just say
'Cause I
yeah,
think,
sure,
yeah, I think it
here you go.
specifically calls out that can understand you in the text of
Okay,
message.
Yeah.
I don't know how to read, so I didn't read any spells.
So I take it and I look.
Yeah, and it tastes like how I would imagine like very heavy like protein smoothies like but like in berry form,
Sorry.
and after you eat it, yeah, it's like an entire like it's an entire day's worth of like nutrients crammed into like
Whoa.
one thing. And so yeah, you eat it and it's a little jarring, but then
Yeah,
after a minute you're just like
whoa.
good. You're just like not gonna be hungry for 24 hours.
Yeah, I just kind of like push my plate away, like, hey, yeah, Wally,
Oh,
can he teach me this? I don't know. Oh, do we decide? I forget. Do we figure out if sorcerers can learn spells? No,
I thought
right?
one of us had good berry. No?
Make
Like,
it
I thought that's how we
no,
were feeding ourselves. Like,
we had
no.
some, you had some
I have the
lemons on a
staff which
staff.
can make. I have the
Oh,
staff of lemons, but I also have um
Oh yeah,
the
they have a
staff
staff that makes
that
lemons, Steve.
nice.
yes, the lemons. Well, yeah. So I also have a staff that does the graining gourmand, which creates food and water spell.
oh, that's right.
So
We actually
that's
like
how I
made
can feed
food,
myself.
not like a magical berry that
Oh
solves
yeah,
all.
no,
Yeah.
this is like the druid spell good berry, the
Right.
first druid
Yeah.
Okay.
spell that feeds an entire party for one spell slot.
Yeah.
So I have a similar one, except I've been creating like piles of then subsequently rotting food all around our trip
So
because I just use the food and water spell.
I'll take Jin's plate and just like pour half of it into my plate and pour the other half into Jeff's plate.
Nice. So while this is all
I'm,
happening,
Making him big anymore.
Dalger basically
I'm
is
in,
like, he's kind of, you know, he's scoffing, but not like menacingly. He's just like, figures that Rail would be one of the first. You're always going on about your Easterman tales. I was wondering when you'd show your face.
I'll give him like a pouty like shut up kind of look.
All right, well, I'll leave you to your stories. If you wish to know more about what magic we can offer, you can find me in the library.
Thank you, Dalger. And I like, I don't know, stand up and like pantsy. I would like bow.
It's very awkward. Not what they do, but I love
Rael's
it.
just looking at you like, what?
and um and Fur Yen, on her way out, says, "Do make sure you stop by the Elder Center and speak with the chief. He's most eager to meet with you.
Does he take food here? Do you know if he's gonna come by here, or he's gonna stay in his? They bring him
He
food. I don't know.
he will most likely be found in the Elder Center."
Elder Center.
And
Yeah,
with
he's like all big and important and cool, so he doesn't really hang out in the village that much.
You all have a old person's home? I don't. What?
Yeah, it's
It's a retirement home?
I also thought it was kind of a weird name, but like it's for the village elders who like it's a little weird. You would think that they would not be like just the oldest people. And honestly, some of them aren't. Like when they die, they like have to get new ones. So like they're not really the oldest people, but like everyone calls them the elders. Maybe it's a wisdom thing. And like just kind of like prattles on.
But your name's Rail, isn't it?
Yeah, Rail.
Rail, hi. You have Easterman stories? So you've met us before. Or not us, but others from like us.
Oh no, I haven't. I never have.
Oh.
But my mom has. Cause she's from over there.
Oh. Well, okay. Come
Yeah.
join
So
us.
I imagine she's met a lot of you.
Is, is, can we talk to her? Is that an option?
I mean, yeah. I guess.
All right. Is she nearby? Somewhere close? Does she live here? I don't know what your family situation is.
Jim, does she live in the Elder Center?
No, she doesn't live in the Elder Center. She, like all the other villagers, live, in their residential huts mixed throughout the branches, is where your home is.
Yeah. No, she's just at my house.
All right. Switching to common. Sparkles Fingles. This guy's his mom's apparently from where Easterman comes from. I guess I don't know. Back to Elvish. Is your mom human? Question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back to common. Yeah, his mom's apparently human. So there's somebody we can talk to about maybe figuring out how the heck she got here and how we can get home.
Aha! Somebody might know where we are.
Yes, and we've also been encouraged to go talk to the senior Santa dude, the elder. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, the Elder. Yeah, for
um,
real. He's a cool guy.
Hold on. Rail, do you speak common?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and like I'll switch to comment. Like, yes, yeah, I've been able to hear what you're saying the whole time, and you just for some reason haven't been talking to me.
Oh,
You
it's
two
like
hear
it's
common for the first time since you've been in this valley.
Well, how about that?
I do a bit of a spit take since I don't have anything else in my mouth. Ooh.
Yeah, what's so weird about speaking common?
We didn't think anybody else here did.
Exactly
Oh.
what I said.
Well, that's awfully presumptuous of you, but okay.
What? We were led to
Listen,
believe
buddy.
we know what we. Maybe I thought from last session we were told that they had not seen, and none of these people had seen Easterman before, but clearly that was incorrect.
Well, that's what a
Remember anymore.
Nubin told you.
Oh, and that was the faulty source.
But I let it ride.
Guy,
And
yeah, like the whole village knows that guy. He's kind of weird. He's like in the scouts, but he just like hangs out, gets drunk all the time, makes up stories.
So, Steve, I mean, you would know that most of the elves in your tribe don't speak common. It's a rarity that you enjoy, and maybe a handful of others potentially.
Yeah, I imagine like my mom taught my dad.
Yeah.
This to some extent and stuff. Yeah, and so yeah.
So,
But anyway,
one person I don't have to translate to. That's nice.
Yeah, thanks. We got somebody to talk to.
great. You're half elven, and they just accepted you as one of their own.
Well, I mean, my dad's one of the village.
Oh, well, it's great. I just always thought elves were kind of snooty, so
Wow.
luckily
Well,
they know when he's coming.
well, that too
So
is awfully presumptuous
yeah,
of you, sir.
actually, I'm gonna stop you, Jeff, because elves are so rare. In fact, there are like none of them. You don't really have that racist knowledge.
Stereotypes. Yeah.
Yeah, those
Those
stereotypes don't
stereotypes
really
at all.
exist. You don't really know anything about elves because they, for all intents and purposes, in the world of Emrae, basically only exist on the other side of the world.
So you're saying there's not even like stories or
Well,
anything
most of the stories come from half elves, and most of the half elves are like a tenth elf. Like they're not really like my mom's an elf and my dad's a human. In most cases, in the Easterman cities, which I did outline in the Emrae doc, but you probably haven't read that for 3 years, so I'm not too worried about it.
you know.
So yeah, so
So,
unlike a Faerun game, you don't really have that stereotypical knowledge. They're more the stuff of legend.
I see. So I'll retcon it and say, well, that must be quite a story. How a human woman and your old man linked up on this side of the world.
Yeah, it's great. My mom's got a lot of great stories.
It,
Yeah,
is,
we'll
she,
look.
is she still
Looking
around
forward
to
to.
tell them, or
Yeah, you told
Yeah,
me that
yeah,
already.
yeah. Like,
She lives here.
yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I guess you guys didn't hear. Yeah, she lives at my house, where I also live.
some of us grew up on the streets, so common is all we know. You know, I won't hold that against anyone.
Yeah, no, I understand. Not a lot of people around here speak common, but my mom does.
I do speak gnomish, but I don't think that's going to help very much.
I have never seen a gnome before.
What is a gnome?
Probably a dwarf either. Yeah. All right.
But
Well, do you mind? Are you boys all done?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, why don't you take us to see your mother? So we can chat.
sure. Yeah, okay. And like just starts going.
Wait,
Dude, I'm
quick.
sorry. You're leading them where?
To go talk to my mom.
Oh, okay.
Wait, hold up. I don't know what. Um, Lou said, what do you do with the plates in broken Elvish?
Oh, you can just leave them. We'll take care of it.
Okay, we can back in common. We can just leave the plates. Against we got
Mike's
keep
really
going.
concerned about etiquette.
I appre I appreciate his attention to detail.
I was already walking away from the plate.
That's
Little things
incredibly
that make it
lawful.
fun.
It's incredibly lawful good of you.
Okay, well then I will. Seeing everybody basically taking off, I like basically try to chase after everybody through the woods, through the canopy.
Yeah, it's big tree and a bunch of like little like bridges carved out of either branches or like made out of like rope and stuff.
All right. Stand
I'm
by.
here. I'm just off screen here.
Stand by just a moment.
So like while we're walking, I'll say like, so how did you guys get here?
You want to talk about a story?
I kind of like look back and forth between the two of them.
I'll let you
Uh,
explain this one here.
I look at Rail and I say, you know, the easiest way to explain it is probably just to call it a shipwreck and move on.
Okay.
uh,
I mean that's awfully cool that you were able to survive a whole shipwreck.
Oh, you have no idea.
oh,
Uh,
we've been
you
round and
you
round.
You guys must be pretty badass.
Steve, you do have some idea from previous tales you've heard
Oh
of
yeah.
of what surviving a shipwreck would be like, as that's basically your mom's story.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and so like even knowing that like I like with my only basis of comparison being like my mom, I say like, wow, you guys must be pretty badass.
uh, um, I
It's been a bumpy ride.
guess like multiple shipwrecks, kind of.
Yeah.
You up?
Yeah,
If
that's
you want to put it that way.
yeah, totally. I mean, that's a lot. I've never been in a ship before, but my mom was.
Be careful of them. They tend to
Do I
wreck.
recognize this dude that we're walking past?
No, you have not seen him before, and you're also not like looking at his face. He's in there and he's toiling away at something.
Got it. Okay. Just trying to get a sense of my surroundings.
Sure. He continues leading you this way. Continues leading you across this bridge.
Do we have all of our weapons? Out of curiosity, like, do we have our stuff? Do we like? I don't know if we don't remember if we like gave those up early on.
No, you didn't have to surrender them.
Okay.
You're just
Yeah.
you traveled.
Is anyone else armed that we can see
Um.
or that we have seen?
So, armed is interesting. Obviously, Anubin was armed. Uh, some of the other scouts that you see milling about on the ground level, are similarly armed. Dalgar, while not armed in the traditional sense, did have a rod of some kind or a wand on his hip. So folks have their tools, and the scouts are armed with weaponry. I don't know if um, I don't know if Rail is carrying any weapon. He can tell you what you see if there is anything.
Just like regular kind of like garb that would be of this tribe, and my loot.
Gotcha.
I got a loot.
Yeah, I've got a loot.
Yeah, he has a loot. All right. So you arrive at this doorway, and inside you see an old, very old looking, like a seemingly way too old to be Rail's mother, based on your understanding of what people look like. Human woman. Pay no attention to the map making it look like a conference room. It's actually like a small home, like a studio apartment sort of furnished house.
Got it.
And I'll kind of like go through the door and I'll just be like, "Hi, mom."
Ah, Rail, welcome back. I see you've brought the travelers with you.
Yeah, I saw them and I talked to them for a bit, and they were in a shipwreck, and you were in a shipwreck. So I thought,
Ah,
you know,
I haven't thought about that in a long time. Please come into my home. She ushers you in. And before you, you see a wizened old woman in basically tribal attire, but like augmented with the ancient threadbare fabric remnants of an old robe in the fashion of uh, old timey gas bar fashion, but like it's been stitched together with fronds and leaves and other things that are used for clothing here in the tribe over the years to keep it on. Around her neck hangs a pendant with a red stone inlaid, and she's otherwise pretty plainly dressed and just kind of milling about her home. It is wonderful to see people again. I am Marine. Tell me your story. I must know how you came to this valley.
Kind of.
I look at my compatriots, kind of give them that look like, is this where we drop it, or do we keep the facade going?
Um,
Wait, that's not
interpreting
bad
that
than
in the
that.
look.
Yeah.
I was gonna say if you say that in common, then like people just hear it.
um, well, it's a long story, ma'am.
I adore a long story. Pull up a chair. Let us yammer on about our lives.
I mean, do you know much about uh? And Mike's brain's farting on the name of the. Do you know much about the Uralites?
The Uralites. I spent quite a deal of my earlier life studying the Euralites at the university in Gaspar.
You know anybody by the name of Sturges Blackclaw?
Sturgis Blackclaw. He was the dwarf who also was. I believe he was cast out of the university.
That he was.
So you know Sturgis?
So I'll
Don't.
look at. All right. So at this point, I'll start messaging back and forth, like, yeah, you're gonna have to give me a second, ma'am, to ponder for a second. It's been a long story, or it's been a long journey. And I'll start messaging back and forth. I'll start with. Well, no, I'm gonna try to parrot this to both of them, but something to the effect of, I think we tell the lady because I don't think there's much harm she can do.
She says, "I
This
intend
is
you."
a message
I,
to.
I know what your
Okay,
intentions are,
sorry,
Mike.
sorry. Yeah,
she
go ahead.
she says, "I intend you no harm, I promise. Feel free to speak plainly. I know much more than you may think these old bones do." She gives you a knowing wink.
Like,
I look at Wallace and shrug, be like, eh? Like, tell her? The best
do
bet.
you want? Do you want? Okay. Do you want your son? She's not your grandkid. You know what? Never mind.
This is in
Um,
fact my son.
look at her. Look at him. Talking eyebrow.
I
Something like, you know.
see. I forget that those across the sea know little of the elven kind. They may look young, but they've many seasons under their belts. Why, my rail's been around for 60 or so passings of the sun.
He's
Yeah, and Rail's kind of like looking back and forth because like this this kind of like age differential thing has never been a thing that like has come up. It's just natural to him, so he's confused why like you're confused about it.
wait. He's older than I am. Because my character's like 50.
Judging by the speckled beard cropping out of your face, I'd estimate you in the late 50s, so I'd say yes.
You, you, you age well. Uh, okay. All right. Well, I look to my two compatriots, especially since she interrupted the message. Um, all right. Well, would you be surprised if we told you our story involved time travel?
Time travel would in fact be a strange concept. Why don't we start at the beginning?
Um, I guess we'll spend the next. I mean, it's gonna take like all day. I would imagine.
Alright,
Um,
that's fine if
well, at that
that's.
point, so but I mean, if that's so, I guess before like, all right, ma'am. Before we get into that though, I know that the I don't want to be disrespectful to what's it the heck is his name? Leader person.
Chief Furrier.
Furrier. Yeah, Chief Furrier. Do we need to go, I don't know, pay our respects to the chieftain before we sit
Oh,
down? Because
that
otherwise it'll
old
take us all day.
fuddy duddy thinks he's all high and important. He'll keep while you tell me your tale. I'd very much like to hear this story, especially since you've mentioned both the Euralites and that damn fool Sturgis.
So at that point, I'll just pull up my notes, or his notes, I should say. And like,
Oh, Sturgis's
hand them.
notes.
Yeah,
Oh,
and hand
okay.
them to
Yeah, I
her.
forget you have those.
Yes.
Right. So you
Yeah,
you,
we
you
kind of
don't
do
tell her
like.
your story, you just hand her a notebook?
Well, no, I mean like I'll pull it out as like a reference to be like, yeah, no, we knew him. He didn't survive the journey, sadly. Uh, but
Oh my.
and then we'll start. I don't know. Until I have, unless I'm getting hesitance or resistance from my compatriots, I'll just start basically. I imagine between the three of us, we just start telling the tale.
Okay.
I just plop into a chair and be like, all yours, buddy.
God,
Occasionally, I'll sit in a chair and I'll just kind of play soft background music with jazz flute, maybe looking over at Rail to see if he chimes in with his loot. Little harmony, perhaps. And then every so often, as Wallace is recounting the tale, I'll use minor illusion to like show the cart that we were stuck in when Sturgis rescued us, and then um, show the coffins that we had to bust open, and then the
Cool.
staff and this other iconic moments.
All right, so you give her a full, detailed recount of the entire campaign, for
Or a montage.
for
It's
purposes.
it's the recap episode that they do so that they
Yeah.
can like get ahead in filming.
For purposes of Steve, give him, even if you want to do it out of character, give him the highlights of what you guys
Oh,
recall.
okay. So, gosh, and again, feel free to help me, gents.
If
So
if it's
we
not,
started.
if you could like just type something up to me if you want to like do that. And
I mean, just to get to rail up to speed. I mean,
yeah,
bottom line, the three of us were all working in like a fishing village. I'm like an outcast guard from
Turned
Gaspar, where your
detective,
mom's from. Yeah, turned private PI, private
which is how I
investigator.
met Wallace, because I was a wandering bard, or rather, I was a street urchin that turned into a wandering bard under the tutelage of a gnomish bard that taught me the ways of warding and magics and all that. And then after his passing, I encountered Wallace, and it became kind of like a natural traveling companion pairing. Like, oh, I like to investigate, and the guards don't want me, and you don't really have a home and no inheritance. Let's wander the world together.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's a Geralt and Dandelion situation.
That's the way to put it.
It really is.
I'm okay with being Geralt in this story. I'm trying to remember how you actually joined us, Jin, or if you.
I have, yeah. So I was getting drunk and picking a fight, and let's see.
We'll have to go back to episode 1.
Yeah, no, I'm reading my notes on how I met you guys. It's been a while, huh?
It has. It's like it really has.
Yeah, let's
You guys have been
see.
through a lot.
I
So
broke up a fight. Let's see. Yep, and then someone tried to.
I mean, character backstory I think is less important than like
yeah.
the
So
journey that
Yeah.
got you guys here.
so we were trying to help. Some guard walked into my office as a PI and asked us to help him retrieve an item, which ultimately resulted in us showing up at this underground laboratory underneath an old ruin where we discovered Sturgis Blackclaw. We tried to jump him. He kicked our butts with ice magic, hence he earned the nickname Flosty. And then he basically sent us on an errand into the Uralob in the swamp. And I don't know if I have a map or not, or I guess I'll use the minor illusion to point out maps. Where he sent us on an errand to go find some bunch of magical items so that he could then, with his goal of using the Uralobins to drain. He wanted to use Uralobin magics to drain the swamp and then basically acquire all of this magical power and ability to teleport over to Stain, so we can have all these different resources available to Gaspar, and he's trying to basically, like, I don't know, jumpstart Gasparian society in a way.
He's
But when we went
basically
to go
trying to,
past the magic,
yeah, he's trying to like win the Cold War by giving Gaspar access to Stain, where
Stain
Gilea did not
resources
have it.
essentially.
Mhm.
So he goes to. So we go on a bunch of quests and adventures, and we meet a bunch of we meet a group of people named the Wild Men, which were mostly women, that help us out through the woods and what have you. And then ultimately we get the items we need. He casts Sturgis casts a spell to actually start draining the swamp, and instead we go forward in time. What?
Roughly
2000 years.
2,000 years.
2,000 years. Um, Spent a whole bunch of time running around a very advanced city that was a bureaucratic nightmare, and it was a
Dragonborn
dystopian. It's this dystopian future where basically Soylent Green is a real thing. Like,
Nice.
Yeah.
so like it, yeah, it seems like all high and mighty and well, but like this city has like basically, unless you're part of the city, you're an absolute outcast, and like the rest of the world is shunned. And we realized it was a terrible, terrible future, and we didn't want it to exist anymore. And then we tried to go back in time, and then in the process, we came across a drow who was also apparently a time traveler of sorts, who basically was fighting us as we were trying to get back in time. And instead of towards, so we successfully, we think, went back in time, back to our original time, but Sturgis and the Drow, whose name we never did learn, both died in the process. Um, and yeah, Sturgis tried to explain to me something about positions on a grid with regard to time travel, and I pointed out the notes and stuff. But instead of us getting droughts back on the eastern continent, we ended up here in, I assume, Corm.
Ah.
And
like,
then
What?
like the camera zooms back in. Rex is like, wow.
Yeah, it's the most exciting story you've ever heard, Rail. Like, you've lived in this village your whole life. You have, your mom's shipwreck tale and the occasional other travelers who've marooned themselves in Corm. You've never heard anything quite so crazy to the point where you almost don't believe it. But the fact that
Yeah,
they're the
like
fact that they're literally carrying pistols and shotguns and like they're dressed like steampunk because all their clothes has
Yeah,
changed
right, we never
l-
changed.
I'm just
lends
like I'm
some
yeah,
validity.
I'm just trying to cast my mind back to the first time when I was a young child I tried to wrap my head around time travel as like a concept. Like, yeah, obviously it exists as like a trope in media and stuff, but like the first time you really think about it, it kind of fucks you up a bit.
Yeah.
So, after hearing the whole tale, Marine graciously accepts Sturgis's book and starts looking it over. And you hear her very quietly just kind of being like, "Hmm. Oh. Uh, you crazy old bastard. Of course. You finally did it." Etc., etc. For quite some time.
They said it couldn't be done.
Yeah. I see. Believe me or not, it makes a lot more sense than you might think.
Really?
I mean, we
First you were
lived
trying to
it,
make
so
sense of it on films.
we lived it, and we don't even make sense much of it.
Sturgis and I joined the Arcane University in Gaspar at the same time. Not that we knew each other prior, it's more of a coincidence. He was always going on and on about his research into the Uralites, and everyone else shunned him for it, saying he was talking nonsense. "I'm going to make it, I'm going to do it," he shouted occasionally. But it seems he was right, and we've all got egg on our faces. It's a
Time
shame he
eggs.
it's a shame he didn't survive the journey. I'd love to tell him I'm sorry.
For not believing in him.
Yes, none of us did. We thought he was a damn fool.
Mm.
He was
So
certainly
yeah,
foolhardy, leaving the actual journey to some rubes like yourselves, but can't blame him. I'm sure the pickings were slim.
kind of.
Yeah, she basically
I don't
just
know.
called you all noobs.
Yeah.
You don't know what we've been through, lady.
I've got a sense of it. Tapping on the book.
Wait, was there like a journal in there?
Sturgis had notes. I mean, it wasn't like a diary, but between
Okay.
your story and his notes,
She's making sense
she's
of it
got a
all.
picture
Okay.
of what happened. If you wouldn't mind, I'd love to dive deeper into this and see if I can make sense of his research. You'd be surprised how widely spread the Uralites' magics go. There are quite a many epicenters of their powers still remnant on this side of the Earth, from their teleportation travels from ages past.
Wait, have you found other Eurolite ruins around here?
Not ruins as such. Call it the remnants of the energies that opened the gates.
Alright. Well, we can leave you to this. I guess we'll go finally, find this chief fella. Do you know if anybody else that speaks common, by the way?
I believe the chief does, and of course my husband and my son.
Alright,
That's me.
Yes,
I'm so
Rail.
curious.
She grabs your hand. You're a good boy.
Hell yeah.
But if you wouldn't mind leaving this with me, I'd love to dive deeper and make more sense of what Sturgis had started.
By all means, if whatever's in there can help us, get back home that much quicker, let me make us. I mean, carry on his work. I'm trying to remember. Did I actually write down? I want to say I wrote down whatever his last words were. Get the stain. Use the magics for Mayran. The stain. Yeah. Initial research works teleported to time and space. Positioning wrong. Could be anywhere. Urges return to Mayran and continue the plan. His own transmutation spell interacted with the actual powers in the ruins. Hurdle through time. Grid on the floor. The spell determines where and when you teleport, or how it happens. Okay. Anyway. So I rattle all of that off to her in hopefully more Sun Skull terms.
Excellent. Yeah, she takes that info in.
Then, okay. So yeah, Rail, if you wouldn't mind, bringing us to the chief person, elder fella.
Yeah, but so like you say that, and I like look at you, and I like look over at mom, like, but I wanted to help look at the book though. But then we'll look back and just be like, yeah, that's okay, I can help.
Thanks.
And I'll like start leading them to the elder center.
Cool. All right, so you lead them just across this branch bridge, over to here.
Yeah, as we're like going over the bridges and stuff, I'll like druid craft extra vines as like training wheels for them.
Nice.
All
right.
just because if you're walking over the tree bridges for the first time, it can be a little disorienting.
Fair.
That's some spiffy magics you got there, little man, or old man.
That's weird. You can just call me Rail.
No, I think I'm just gonna keep calling you old man, actually.
Okay, I guess.
Yeah. Steve has no concept of Wallace's everyone has a nickname.
It's alright. Learning organically.
So you lead them around to the front to here.
Yeah, and I'll say like, yeah, my dad's like one of the most powerful druid in the whole village. And so when he and my mom started working together, and she was learning about his magic, and he was learning about her magic, and then one thing led to another, and then they fell in love, and now I'm here.
That's a sweet story there, buddy. I pat him on top of the head.
So Jin doesn't get that he's not a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah.
He just hasn't really figured that out.
Okay, bud. More pat.
Totally fine, yeah.
You were gonna say something, Jeff?
Oh, I just when he has that like stark story of how he came to be, I'd look over at Jin and give him like a.
Well, your time in the Dragonborn sex den, you're no stranger to how babies are made.
Well, no, it's a look of like, oh, that's adorable.
And like, if I catch that, I assume I do. I have pretty high perception. I'll just be like, oh yeah, no, they fucking.
Just kind of give him a look like, whoa. Oh yeah.
Great.
All right.
And with that,
have we met? We haven't met your dad, have we?
No, he's out doing druid shit.
Do we, Jim? Forgive me. Do we have concept of druids in the Eastermen?
Yeah, druid is a class you're aware of.
Got it. Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Although that would have been cool if the answer was no. but no, it's yes. Um, anyway, so he leads you to the doorway, and inside you see a room that's been carved out of the central trunk of the tree itself. In the very center, there is this not glass, more like amber, if you can think
Okay.
of like amber, but it's got not a translucent gold color to it. It's like a bright glowing green color to it, and out
Okay.
of it tendrils of energy pulsate through what look like vines, but it's just sort of ethereal inlaid into the floor of the wood, which radiates out into the tree. Um, and um, he's standing over it, and he has his hands on the floor, and he's like sort of meditating over this pulsating, glowing center of the trunk. And he doesn't really notice you.
And I'll look at Rail. I don't. Is it? Is he busy?
Is he?
Uh, oh, it's okay. He's just pondering the orb, and I'll just go in and I'll just be like, "Hi, Chief."
Um, he opens his eyes and he turns and looks to Rail. Ah, Rail.
Sorry to interrupt your orb pondering, but I brought the adventurers.
Ah, wonderful. The Eastermen have arrived. I see now what they meant by being strangely dressed. I've not seen garb of this nature before.
Yeah,
Um,
they've been to the future.
what? Oh, Rail, you and your tall tales. Anyway,
Oh, is this all in Elven or in Common? Out of curiosity.
he's saying this to Rail in Elven, so Mike, you're privy to it. But then,
Got it.
almost immediately after he says that, he turns to you and says in Common, "Welcome! I hear we have you to thank for the safe return of our brother Onubin, and for that our village is in your debt."
I mean, we just sort of happenstance. We're lucky to come across him. So yeah, we're
That
no
sounds
no,
he
no
was
problem.
lucky you came across him himself.
Yeah, I guess. Um, thank you for your hospitalities. I mean, we were nice
Of
enough. It's
course.
nice having a bed and shelter after we've been wandering around the wilderness for what months now,
My goodness.
essentially.
Your journey has certainly been long, and it sounds as though it is quite a tale from the rumor mill.
Yeah. We're actually kind of hoping to see if we can't figure out how to get back home. I understand you've had other Eastermen here before, besides Marine.
Ah, yes, every so often some ranging party or expedition goes awry, typically due to the perilous nature of sailing through the mists, and the occasional shipwreck washes upon our shores, and survivors do find their way into our Valley of Spirits. Does not happen often, but sometimes they stick around for a while, as in the case of our friend Marine. Several have attempted to journey back home, though whether they've succeeded I cannot say. I've not heard any successful tales ever return to our way.
Does anybody from? Do you have other? You said this is the Valley of Spirits.
Yes, I could tell you much of the history of our land. It's simply an old name for the region, but our people long ago were fabled to have been protected and taken in by the great tree spirits of the valley. We're talking ancient times here.
Do you have other? I don't know what you call this. Towns, villages, settlements, places where other elves
This
live nearby.
this settlement is all that it consists of the Mbakwa. There are, of course, other denizens of the jungle, though they are not of the Mbakwa. But
That's your tribe, your people, your family.
our tribe, the Mbakwa tribe.
And there are
Yes.
other tribes outside of the valley, I take it?
Oh, yes. The valley itself is particularly our domain. Occasional travelers and passers-by, but um, there are no settlements outside of ours that at least at least not that I am aware of.
And do you ever send people I'm guessing nobody from your tribe ever tries to explore over across the mists to Mayran or Galea,
Don't
the
know.
eastern places?
Don't know why we ever would need to. From the tales that Marine tells, it is quite a brutal life,
I mean, fair. Kind of look at my companions like, I mean, he's not wrong.
rife with war and squabbling and toiling away at jobs for money. Whereas we live a much simpler life here. What we have is for all.
Communism, sorry.
It's like Springstone
uh,
without the murder.
without the dis in the utopia, in the dystopia. Um, Well, we very much appreciate, like I said, your hospitalities. I don't know if any of my compatriots also have other questions, thoughts, concerns. At least want to have a conversation with somebody who can speak common.
I was actually hoping. I hate to ask this of you after you've already helped us, but you see, the reason Onubin was even out was due to the Scouts regimen having to patrol lately. Uh, for some history, our tribe has been peaceful for centuries, but roughly 4 years ago, we've had strange activities within our peaceful valley. In as of late, they have become increasingly violent. I'm sure you heard of Onubin's good friend who was struck down. We have not been able to ascertain the nature of what is causing these attacks. They're an unseen foe that we had hoped Onubin scouts would have been able to identify. Where they have failed, perhaps you may be able to aid us. We would be most gracious if you could pick up where the scouts left off and perhaps get some information.
You got a mystery for us to solve, huh? And I kind of like,
If it's not too imposing, you certainly can carry yourselves in a scuffle, it seems.
yeah, we've had a lot of those. uh, not a lot by choice, really, but well, some by choice. What do you say, boys?
Yeah.
Not like we're doing much as, as the dragonborn
It,
gets pumped up. I mean, not like. I mean, we appreciate. I mean, if there's anything we can say as a way of saying thank yous to helping us with your letting us stay and actually have a place to sleep and eat. So, yeah, if you could point us in the direction of whoever's in charge of this
Well, that
scout regimen, we can. We have some experience dealing with supernatural problems, if you want to put it that way.
certainly.
you.
Um,
We don't have much else on our.
I got nothing better to do.
I'll have Anubin brief you of the details, and you can pick up where he left off.
um, Is there somebody you'd suggest as a guide to come along with us? Somebody who knows the valley.
Steve, you catch a glance from the chieftain, a glance that feels like he's saying, "You up for it?"
Yeah, sure, I'll go.
Ah, looks like Rail would be happy to accompany you.
Oh, excellent! We got the old man with us. Fantastic. All right.
I thought he might. He's always talking about his love of Easterman culture. It would be a great time for him to pick the brains of those who live it.
You got any experience with this scout regiment there?
Yeah, I mean, I help them out every once in a while when they need, some magic or some berries or lightning bolts.
I'm sorry. What?
And I repeat exactly what I just said.
Like, to that I look at Sparkles. Did he?
Oh, I'm like, I think I like this guy.
I think you found a new person to try to teach magic to me. You can. Yeah, I don't. Fascinating. Out of curiosity, has anything weird happened to me in the last like
No,
2 hours?
I was just reminding myself of that, and nothing. The only thing
Okay,
the only weird thing that occurred was when you attempted to cast message, and it didn't go to your intended target.
got it. Okay, fair enough. Um, all right. Well, all right, old man. Looks like you've joined the crew.
Do 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 do.
Rail has joined your party. Um,
I, so which one of you do I walk into?
sorry, what?
Like in Final
So,
Fantasy, when the
like
four
every
party members all can join into the
Oh.
single player.
yeah, adventuring parties, everyone like and that we all walk into.
Phenomenal.
You seem like start to walk into one of us. Like, hey,
Who's
come
in
here.
the
What are you doing?
Who's in the first slot?
Yeah.
Well, let's see what
Is
the
this one of those where it like kind of like changes, or is it always just one set character?
the map would have us believe that it's you, Rail.
apparently, apparently it's Wallace according to my map.
Oh, okay, it changes.
Yeah, but probably whoever's in control of the top layer. Wait, so who from the DM's
It
perspective?
was
am I
it was
playing?
Rail from my perspective, which doesn't make any
Oh.
sense.
I mean, if he's the new
I'm
character.
in
he
charge
could be the
now,
one in
motherfuckers.
Yeah, so basically the chief suggests that you touch base with Anubin, who can brief you with what he knows so far, so that you can get some sort of direction, and then Rail will accompany you as your guide through the jungle to wherever it is that you need to go, to to whatever end that you're hoping to serve.
I guess Rail, you can bring us to Mr. Anubin or the Anubin. Oh, he's the innkeep guy. Okay.
Anubin? No, that's the player that's no longer with us.
Oh,
I'm just gonna turn him into an
yeah.
NPC.
Right. Oh, that. Sorry. That's Aobin versus Anubin. Right.
Yeah.
Aobin versus
Would I know, Jim? Would I have any information about this thing or what it is? Or
So you would only know, what the town has talked about. Basically, kind of what the chief said. Over the past 4 years, there have been sightings of mysterious people or figures in the jungle, and of recent times, um, those sightings have become violent. There have been people who've been ambushed and attacked while just out and about in the jungle. And more recently, there was the death of Anubin's
Zulbin.
longtime friend Zulbin.
Right.
It wasn't seen who did it, but it was similar, similar mo, similar style of attack.
yeah,
So
Okay.
it's unknown what's causing it to anybody, and it's kind of why the scouts exist and what they're trying to identify.
Got it.
And you'll get more details from Anubin.
I will relay that stuff to the party as we walk.
Cool.
Just so that you three are then on the same page as I am.
Cool. So yeah, so you're all up to the
Perfect.
same level in terms of knowledge of that. Zach, what did you say your time was?
Like 10:30 ish would be okay.
Okay,
I can get home then.
that's cool. We can roll for another 30 minutes. It's mostly RP for now.
I'm gonna say
Okay.
go talk to some scouts and then call it a night.
Yeah. So you guys find Anubin in the library, which I'll just move you guys over to, which is also where Dalger's hanging out, yeah, sitting on a chair over here reading. But Anubin is um, sitting at a table writing a report. You guys come around the corner over here, and there he is.
Yeah. You moved me into the wall. Okay.
Sorry about that, Mike.
Um. Just in Elven. Hello again, chum.
I've been banned from Twitch. Help me. No, he says. that was very rude. He says, he
I
says,
thought it was gonna be PogChamp, but it wasn't very PogChamp.
he says, um, "Oh, hi, hello again. Have I told you my cat's names? Anyway, what's up? It's good to see you again.
So
Oh, hi, Rail.
Just like kind of like
awkward.
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah, Rail like so like Rail knows this guy but like not very well, so he's just kind of like all right, yep, I also am in the movie.
what
So all in Elvish, right?
Yeah, he's all Elvish
So,
right now.
right. So Chief Furious said you'd be the right person to talk to about possibly investigating what exactly happened to Bilbin and this
Oh,
task you've been set to deal with these mysterious issue you guys got going on.
so it's a briefing you want? I see. Um,
Yeah, I guess.
well, here's what we know. We know that the attacks are coming from the north. We don't know how many there are or who and what they are. We do know this all started about 4 years ago, which is odd, and for no real reason. We don't know why. Um, but we do know that the attacks are not bestial. Like they're clearly weapons that are causing this. Zolban was most assuredly slain by some kind of blade. It's hard to tell exactly. He was pretty beat up. Um, my intention before I came upon you guys and then subsequently was attacked by that snake was to head north and follow a trail, which I'm sure at this point has since gone cold. But I could take you at least back to where I found the trail from Zulbin's attack and let you guys take it from there if you're intending to continue to scout.
How often
Yeah,
do
it
these
sounds like
attacks occur?
They used to be very sporadic. It's ramped up in frequency and obviously in violent nature in the recent months. Um, Zolban was the first of us who were slain, but others have been ambushed and robbed and attacked, roughed up. But again, no one ever sees who does it. All the eyewitness accounts just say it's some mysterious figure. Some of them claim, you know, magical creatures, but I think that's just nightmares and people not knowing what they're seeing.
I will relay this all in common back to my two compatriots.
do the
Um,
victims have anything in common?
No, it all seems to be random. Sometimes they're robbed of their possessions, sometimes they're robbed of their food, sometimes both, sometimes neither. And then only recently, like I said, was one of them killed. My old buddy Zulban.
They've
And
always been on the roads around here. No attacks in the village proper.
no, they've never come so far south as the village. Like I said, I believe the threats to the north because as I was piecing together my reports, it looks like generally those travelers who are in the northern roads and rivers are coming across the difficulties.
What brings people that way in the first place? Like, why would anybody walk up there or go north there?
We live our lives in the valley.
Oh, right.
Foraging, travel. I mean, we reside in the tree, but we don't spend our lives in the branches.
Yeah, fair enough. Alright. Blades. It's always okay. And there's no description of these things even humanoid. If we know if they have how many like arms, legs.
No collaborating stories. Corroborating stories. Some people say they were men. Some people say they were creatures. Some people say they were a shadow. I mean, uh, nothing definitive. I mean, if everybody all said the same thing, that would be pretty clear. But no one seems to know what they're looking at.
You
Does
don't know of
anybody
anything
here?
specific. You don't know of anything specific that changed 4 years ago than the way things were done in the valley before then.
Well, I can't tell you anything specifically.
Alright.
Does anybody here travel with weapons regularly?
I mean, all the scouts are outfitted with spears and other weaponry that we have, but just the general town tribal folk are not necessarily equipped as warriors.
When was the last time you had a group of Eastermen stumble across you?
So
Besides
outside of
us.
you guys, well, that was years ago. I couldn't tell you exactly. Marine might
Well,
know more specifically what year it was.
I again continuing to parallel this to my friends. You boys got any other questions, thoughts I can translate to this guy?
When do we start?
Check out the area.
Well, I have after Mike translates that, I have
Yeah.
some I have some duties to attend to here today, but we could set out in the morning, and I could take you to the place where Zolbin was found. That would be probably the best place to start, as it would be the most recent trail.
Is it assumed that Rich has paired it back to us?
Yes. Yeah. Assume everything he's saying I'm bearing to. He wants to take us to the place where he found Zolban in the morning.
I I understand that you have things to attend to, but my knowledge of these matters in other lands is that the longer you wait, the colder the train gets.
Um, After hearing Mike translate that, while I agree, I can't step away from what I need to attend to.
Fair enough.
I could certainly direct you there, but there's no guarantee you'd be in the same exact precise location.
Yeah, we don't want to risk that. Where's Zolban's body?
Well, what little of it remained was properly buried and sent off in our fashion.
Ah, alright.
All right. Well, I suppose we'll just make ourselves comfortable here until the morning.
That sounds good to me. Well,
Yeah, we got nothing else to. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we would possibly. I mean, we got experience. This isn't common. I mean, we got experience, boys, with invisible folk stalking us in the woods until they decide to strike at their convenience. Makes me wonder if they're also dealing with. Do you have back in Elvish? Do you have dealings with Drow at all?
dealings with Drow.
Yeah, do they live
What
around
make
you?
he get with that?
Their tribe?
He reacts very puzzled, and he asks you, "Why would you bring them up?"
We've had experience with them in the past, and they have fancy abilities to basically stay invisible on the harass and attack you. So that's
You
where my
have
brain goes.
experience with Drow.
Well,
How long
one.
ago did you come to this valley?
What is it? Weeks? I
Yeah,
don't remember how long ago we actually landed in here.
it's been a couple moons.
Yeah, may have lost track of time. Honestly, we were out in the woods for a while.
Interesting.
So, so what can you tell us?
Well, nothing definitive, but one of the descriptions from one of the attackers, or attacked rather, was that they were dark elves, which, as we know, that's what a drow is. And
You,
since the attacks started to gain in frequency, like I said a couple months ago, that corresponds to your arrival in the valley.
I wouldn't go back that far. Wait,
Couple moons, I
but you
use
said,
what you just said.
oh, well, yeah, but it hasn't been 4 years.
I didn't say 4 years. Just
Yeah, but
now.
the
I'm
attack
saying
started 4 years ago.
the suspicious activity began about 4 years ago. The violent nature of the attacks have ramped up in the last couple months.
Oh, okay. I don't know if that actually lines up with our timetable or not, but okay. Um, are there dark elf tribes that you interact with peacefully or not? I suppose in the history of the
As far as I know, the only
Mbakwa.
The only dark elf denizens in the world exist on that far off continent of Stain, they call it.
Oh, right. Okay. Whatever the Elvish equivalent to that would be. Alright, I'm still gonna go ask Maureen or Maureen. There we go. And chieftain about that. Any particular history there? So okay. Um, curious then. Curious.
Hmm.
Alright. Um, Ray, I guess we'll go back to your mom's. Unless you boys got anything else to ask. Translate, translate, translate.
No, I kind of say to you, does this line up with our timetable?
I don't think we've been here that long, but yeah, Jim, does that? I don't remember how long we were in the woods before we actually showed up in the valley.
If memory serves, the skill challenge to travel through the jungle was over the course of a couple weeks.
Okay, so yeah, based on what he's telling us, it sounds like we weren't here that long, but I don't know.
Mike,
Kind of seeing what
roll an insight check.
insight.
Oh yeah, there's dice in this game.
Hey, we haven't rolled a single die tonight, have we?
So for
Sometimes the best games of D&D are the ones where no one rolls the dice.
your insight check reveals to you that he um he was mostly taken aback by the fact that you brought up Drow and he didn't. Um, and you get the
Okay,
sense that he is
hiding something.
well, he's suspicious. You get a sense of suspiciousness from him regarding your story and your timeline.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, at this point, I want to. I mean, I want to go talk to the. I'll go back to the. There he is. Furrier.
Back to the chief.
Wait, yeah.
Okay. What's everybody else doing?
I'll go with.
Yep, I'm following along.
What are you doing, Rail?
Are we all? Oh, you guys are going back to the chief? Do you
Yeah,
need
I gotta.
You need me to go with you, or if not, I'm gonna go probably check on my mom and the book.
We can get you back up to speed. You can head off if you need to.
Yeah, I wanna go see about that book. It seemed really cool,
Okay.
and my mom seemed really interested in it.
Yeah, she definitely did. So the party will split momentarily, temporarily rather. Mike is very diligently walking across the bridge. Steve finds his way back home. We'll start with Steve.
Yeah, yeah. My intent is to go back and like if my mom is doing any sort of like looking at it, like researching, like that sort of thing, I want to like help her out with that because it's
Cool.
not the first time that she's like asked me to help with like magic related things.
Yeah, so she's really excited. You see her like light up more than you've seen her light up in decades with this book. She starts going on about Sturgis and how she knew him and she thought his theories were absurd and everyone in the university thought he was crazy. The damn fool was trying to drain all the water out of a whole swamp, which obviously is an absurd level of transmutation magic, and
Right.
he thought that his alchemy augmented with the research that he had done with these privately funded expeditions into the Uralite ruins would create some amalgamation of ancient magics with current arcane magics, and he was very experimental, and it was all silly. And according to his notes and what the story that the Eastermen that you met have told, he was successful, although there were unforeseen consequences to the spell. He didn't account for the sunken ruins having um, a locus of magic still present, um, which interfered with his alchemical transmutation spell. And from the best his notes could surmise, that's what caused the space-time rift that hurtled everybody forward, rather than simply draining the swamp. But according to his notes, the swamp was in fact actually drained, um, and in the future world that they arrived in, like everything that she talks about, this like steampunk future city and the
Right.
craziness that it existed, it was all as a result of changing the landscape from like draining out the swamp, which kind of changed. He changed the course
Yeah.
of the future history with this mistake that he now wanted to correct. You also hear her say that his dates are wrong, and it looks like all of that occurred 4 years ago.
Hmm.
Uh, so so you think that the the those adventurers they're from they were from 4 years in the past, but because they got flung into the future and flung back.
Yes, see here, he talks about how hastily he had to perform the ritual to return them. He outlines here where the spell he cast is either a forward or backward in the space timeline, and the physical position on the grid will indicate the matching physical position on the plane of Emrae. So it's all about where you stand and which way you face, and he just wasn't precise enough. Apparently, they were attacked during the process, from these notes. He made it pretty darn close, if I'm being honest, but looks like he was off by a few years. They're actually still 4 years ahead of where they came from.
So so he was supposed to be standing east, and he accidentally stood west.
Well, not quite so simple as that, but you've
But
got
you
the
said
gist of
we.
it.
Yeah, and cause like Rail has 11 intelligence, right? So he like can wrap his head around most magic stuff, but like this is certainly a level removed, and he's doing his best.
Yeah,
Well, do you think that we should tell them about that?
I think it's time to. It's time that me and Furrier had a discussion. She
Okay.
she starts like she closes the book, she gets up out of her chair. She's like Grandpa Joe in Willy Wonka putting on her cane and hat for the first
Right.
time in a long time.
And I'll say that I'm gonna go with them to help take care of the attacks to the north.
You've always been quite handy in the wilderness. Just take care you don't end up like that damn fool Zulbin.
Well, yeah, no, I'm like good at what I do, but like I just it should be fine. I've got lightning bolts.
You certainly do at that. And she chuckles, tussles your hair like she's done so many times over the decades.
Hell yeah. Rail's barrier for affection is head pats.
All right, so that happens over there. Cut back over to the party at Freer.
Man, that's some meta information that helps, but we don't have that yet.
No, you guys don't know none of that.
Okay, so I assume he's contemplating his orb.
Yes, he's doing exactly what he was doing the first time you showed up.
Pardon, sir, your elvenness.
Ah, hello. Did you
I was
have
just,
time to speak with Onubin then?
we did, yes. But he got a bit, how should I put this? Concerned when I brought up the possibility that your mysterious attackers may be Drow or Dark Elves, and I was curious if you had know of some history with Dark Elves and the Mbakwa tribe.
Um, the only presence of dark elves in this world I am aware of is in the far off continent the Eastermen call Stain. Though it's interesting that you would mention them, as some of the villagers who'd been attacked said that they were done so by dark elves. As we all know, that could indicate the drow.
Hmm.
Why did you bring up the drow? Did you spot them yourselves?
We had a run-in with one of them, way off in the jungle early on in our getting lost here.
Hmm.
So that's why I ask, because they have a tendency of being able to stay invisible while they attack us. We were actually one of them slayed one of our compatriots. So we
Oh,
have
that is
unfortunately
unfortunate.
we have dealings with just one. However, I've never only seen the one,
I see.
and that
Well,
was
it's certainly
weeks ago now.
interesting. Weeks, you say?
So
Very good.
yes.
Well, I mean,
Uh,
Onubin and the scouts would have more detailed timeline of the attacks, but it's interesting that seems an unusual coincidence that strangers arriving in our village through very strange means encounter drow, and also our peaceful valley has been beset upon by drow over the potentially drow. I don't mean to imply that is the case, um, but over the past 4 years, this peaceful place has become less peaceful, and then all of a sudden you show up.
and we lost
I think he said he
Steve.
was
Steve.
getting a drink. He should be back shortly.
Oh, okay.
Just gonna mess
Um,
up my frames for a bit. No big deal.
okay. So yeah, with that, I'll take my leave. Translate that to my compatriots, and I assume run into Marine on the way on the way to her house.
Oh, is that where you're headed?
That's where I was gonna go after this. Yeah.
Okay. Steve, are you with your mom as she's heading over to the chief?
Yeah, I was totally gonna be
Okay.
with her.
So, as you guys leave, yeah, you do in fact see them coming across the bridge.
Ah, ma'am, we were just trying to talk to you.
Ah, well, you can stay right where you were. I've got some words with Furrier, and you may as well be present for it all.
All right, I will. That works. You can talk to him. I'm assuming in Elven. We'll. Oh no, everybody here speaks Common. Cool.
So he comes around the corner, and she says, "Furrier! Ah, Marine. It's wonderful to see you out. Yes, quit your damn prattling on. These these boys need you to give it up. Tell them what you know. What?
All right, what?
They're privy to the Uralites. Explain the whole bit. Marine, I don't know. Ah, quit it all. We gotta get these boys home. They're responsible for everything. They just don't know it.
What?
Possible. Wait, what?
Yeah, like you say that, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. She started to talk about stuff, and she lost me. I don't know, like 20 minutes ago.
So,
You wanna elaborate there, ma'am?
sure. You think this tree just grew out of the ground the way it grew? No. Why do you think the thing glows green in there? You just accept things at face value? You gotta ask questions. You gotta question things. Tell them all about it for a year, or I will. You know, it's not my place to divulge tribal secrets, but it's important they understand. Um, well, if you're hell bent on it, I suppose. Don't you see? Don't you see? They're all tied into it. It's all a big circle. We've come all the way back to the beginning again. Okay, I don't know what that means. Neither does Jim. Jim's kind of rambling right now. No.
It's Final Fantasy. It's a 2,000-year wait.
No, 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 no. It's not that.
I'm glad that my mom is just like Doc Browning right now.
Yeah. Good. That's really what I wanted to convey. Is like she knows what's going on. So Chief Furrier, I just can't do this in character because there's a lot going on here.
Too much.
Chief Furrier explains that the secrets of the elders that are passed on is that what you know of the Uralites and their travel between the continents of Mehran and Korm is in fact very true and has had existed in ancient times, just like the stories in Sturgis's research indicated. Um, and what you don't know is that this giant tree isn't naturally giant, but it is essentially miracle growed by a locus
Uralabin.
a locus of Uralabin magic that is still active from the ancient remnants of one of their portal gates. Think, like World of Warcraft Dark Portal, right? Um,
Okay.
so way back in ancient times, this was one of the sites where they would regularly travel across continents. And of course, on the other side of the portal, there was a small, settlement and place around where the gate was. That's been lost to the ages, but the Uralabin magic still exists in this locus of energy deep underground, which is fueling this giant tree, and that is the reason this tree has that crazy magics. This tree exists on a minor locus of energy. There is apparently, according to Chief Furrier, a much more established and powerful locus of energy far off to the west
West.
in a similar but much more large and expansive type of giant tree. And he would be more than happy to aid you in seeking out that tree, which may be what you need in order to get yourselves back home safely. As a thank you for your assistance in the investigations of the Valley of Spirits stuff that's happening. And when he's quote unquote contemplating the orb, what he's doing is meditating on the magical energies in order to keep this tree, alive. It's one part prayer and worship and one part magical commune to continue to foster the energies that maintain their civilization. And throughout the continent there are a great number of different magical loci. Anyway, um, areas where Uralabin magic has manifested into some some sort of giant growth or something, and it's really the remnants of all the portal gates that existed on this side of the world.
Okay.
So he relays all that information to you after much prodding from Marine. She's cackling and slapping her hip and like, haha, I told you, see? And tell him about the timeline. Why, I don't know what you mean about the timeline, Marine. You boys think you're back in the year 1097, right? Or 1092, or whatever it is.
Is that not where we are?
Nah, Sturgis was close. Frankly, from the notes, it sounds like he did a pretty damn fine job given the situation. You guys were under attack, but you didn't make it all the way back. You're still 4 years ahead of where you left.
What? Yeah, quit, sit, but damn it.
I mean, all told, like he got pretty close.
He did get pretty close. You're damn right, Rail.
Old man, you're not helping.
But close counts and horseshoes and hand grenades and time travel.
I'm like pouting around in a circle now, knowing that we're like still 4 years off. Like, wait, what do you mean timeline? Like, what? Wait, you said 4 years?
Yeah, so everything that you did happened 4 years ago.
And your troubles started 4 years ago, yeah?
Ah, now you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Done. Wait, so let's postulate here that it is in fact the Drow that are up to no good here. It's possible that because of whatever we did back in Mayran, or what Sturgis did, and we're now trying to clean up, that the Drow are now interested in your magical loci. Is that the idea?
I can't say for sure, but I postulate that whatever went awry with the transmutation spell activated locus of energy across the plane, the whole plane. And there were probably more than just you four being hurtled into the future. I bet a great number of people were sent backward or forward, dotting across the landscape. And
I'm sorry. Would you what,
This is all speculation, but it would seem to explain at least why all of a sudden someone out of nowhere, corresponding almost precisely with the date that these notes mention, started to find their way into our valley.
And we also ran into another drow from our time in the future. Bloody hell. Alright.
Yeah, I don't think you four were the only people who got hurdled around.
Huh.
Sturgis wanted to end the war, and unfortunately, it sounds like he may have started one.
How? And I looked at my. I looked at Jin and Leganor at this point, like, how are we supposed to. Like, even if we got back home, like, how would we undo that? Like, we don't have
It's
him.
not our fault.
You're right. You don't have Sturgis.
Wait. Would we?
Yeah, would we? Like, if we went. Is there some way we could undo. I don't know, if we went back to the original spot, would we undo everything that we did in the future, including him getting killed 4 years further in the future than he's supposed to be in?
Well, see, right now we're in a branch off of the base timeline, and you haven't come all the way back from the future to the original point where the timelines divulge. So you're still in timeline B, where Sturgis has gone to the future, returned, and then passed away. If you could somehow find your way back to the past before the original branch of time, originating back to the original timeline, in theory, all of you should still be alive and well as long as you didn't encounter your former selves and create a rift in the space-time continuum.
Way to
And
Doc
her
Brown
her
there.
hair
Yeah.
turns white and just goes straight up in the air.
So we went. We have to go. Well, no, back to the past. Yeah.
We just like the camera pans over and he has a whiteboard.
All right, so we're doing. This is Back to the Future time travel, not Avengers Endgame time travel. Got it. Okay. Not the future past. What? I don't. You mean Todd's time machine was wrong? All right, it is 10:30, so I think
Yeah,
Zach
you-
has to
you
go.
got a
but
dip,
I think
Zach?
it's a good stopping point.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we've got a handle on this. We can head out in the morning.
Very good then. We would appreciate your investigation now that we have some more information. I believe Onumid has suggested that you start in the north, and we'll pick it up on your way out there when next we meet. He says, breaking the fourth wall, talking about next session.
Perfect.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a blast. Let's give a big round of applause to our special guest, Steve. Hopefully, we'll see more of him in the future. We will be back next week, Thursday. Is that correct?
Yeah.
For me.
Very good. So next stream should be Thursday of next week, which, if my math,
Emrae as well.
yeah, Emrae again, and my math checks out the last day of March, the 31st.
Fantastic.
Cool, cool,
That's the
cool.
plan.
All right. Adios,
Alright.
the internet. Thanks for watching.
Good night, folks.
Bye.
All right, guys, that was fun.
Lord.